Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling when you're just swimming in information and all you really want are the clearest insights? Fast.
Yeah, like cutting through the noise.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for here. Today, we've got this stack of sources, and we're diving deep into something that, well, it touches so many lives. Social anxiety. We're going to unpack what it really is, where it often comes from, and most importantly, how to actually navigate it.
It's really about getting you that clear, actionable understanding. We'll get into the nuances, like how social anxiety isn't just general anxiety or being shy.
Right.
And look at how surprisingly common it is, plus the whole complex web of causes behind it.
Think of this as your shortcut, basically.
Yeah.
Lots of aha moments, hopefully, and practical stuff you can actually use. So let's jump right in. Understanding social anxiety. Okay, so let's unpack this. We often throw around words like anxiety, fear, shyness.
Yeah, they get mixed up.
Right. But when we talk social anxiety, the sources point to something really distinct. Can you walk us through that difference? What makes it its own thing beyond just being shy?
That's a really crucial starting point. The sources are pretty clear. Fear is that immediate thing, right? Like you see a bear, you feel fear now.
Okay, immediate threat.
Exactly. Anxiety, though, is more about anticipating a future threat, something that, might not even be real or might never happen.
Ah, okay. The what if.
Pretty much. And social anxiety isn't just like getting butterflies before a speech. It's this intense, often irrational fear that social situations will lead to you being negatively judged or humiliated or really embarrassed.
Intense is the key word there.
It really is, and a sign that really stands out in the sources. That feeling of profound relief you get after you leave a social situation, or just knowing you don't have to be around people.
Wow, yeah, that really speaks volumes. That distinction makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like this isn't some rare condition either. What did the sources say about how widespread this is?
Well, that's what's fascinating. It's actually incredibly common. Way more than people often think. It's often really underestimated.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers, social anxiety disorder used to be called social phobia. It's ranked as the third most common mental disorder in the U.S.
Third. Wow.
Yeah, right after depression and alcoholism.
Right.
Estimates suggest slightly under 10% of the U.S. population has some form of it at any given time.
That's a huge number.
It is. And the lifetime prevalence, like the chance of experiencing it at some point, about 13.5%. Knowing how common it is, that's really key to reducing the stigma,
Absolutely.
And it shows up in different ways, too. You've got specific social anxiety, like a really intense fear of public speaking, for example.
Right, just one thing.
Yeah, focused. But
Right.
then there's generalized social anxiety disorder. That's where pretty much every social interaction causes significant anxiety. And interestingly, that generalized form, it's actually the more common one.
And the symptoms aren't just in your head, right? Yeah. The sources mention physical stuff, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's body and mind. Psychologically, you've got the intense fear, constant dread, worrying about things you said or did or things that might happen. But the physical symptoms are striking. It's like your body goes into fight or flight mode, even when there's no actual physical danger.
Like a false alarm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get the increased heartbeat, the blushing, sweating more, dry mouth, trembling, feeling lightheaded, even nauseous sometimes.
Wow.
It's your body basically screaming danger.
Yeah.
Even if your rational mind knows it's, just a party or a meeting, it creates this really powerful feedback loop.
And what kind of situations usually trigger these reactions?
Well, it's a really wide range. Things most people don't think twice about, like being introduced to someone new or getting criticism, even gentle teasing. Being the center of attention is a big one.
Yeah, you can see that.
Being watched while you're doing something, meeting people in authority, most social interactions, especially with strangers, even just moving around a room can be tough.
Really? Just moving around.
Yeah. Forming friendships, romantic relationships. The sources even mention things like eating or drinking in front of others or using a public restroom. These can all become huge triggers.
That's a lot of everyday life.
Yeah.
I imagine many listeners are nodding along right now.
Probably.
The sources had some really poignant personal stories, like being terrified of being called on in class, even if you knew the answer, or just dreading work meetings. It really shows how it's not just a fleeting feeling. It can seriously disrupt your life. One person even mentioned turning to self-medication just to cope.
Yeah, that happens, which really highlights why understanding the why behind it is so important. That's the first step towards actually treating it effectively.
Okay.
So the question becomes, what actually causes social anxiety disorder? And the sources suggest it's rarely just one thing. It's more like a a complex interaction, a tapestry, like you said.
A tapestry, right. So where do we start pulling those threads? Is there a genetic link, for instance?
Definitely. Genetics play a part. It does seem to run in families. If a parent has SAD, their child's risk goes up by about 30–40%.
Okay, that's significant.
Yeah, and some research is starting to link it to changes in a specific gene involved with serotonin transport. Imbalances there can contribute to the symptoms, but, genetics might load the gun, but environment often pulls the trigger. It's not the whole picture.
So genes set the stage, but aren't the full story. What else is going on? You mentioned the brain earlier.
Right. Our brain chemistry is a huge factor. Brain scans show that in people with social anxiety, the amygdala, that's your brain's sort of fear center, is often hyperactive.
Okay, overactive alarm system.
Exactly. Now, normally, the prefrontal cortex, which is like the brain's manager, should step in and calm the amygdala down, say, hey, it's okay.
Right.
But in social anxiety, it seems like the prefrontal cortex might actually amplify the amygdala's activity sometimes. It misinterprets social cues as major red flags. It's like a breakdown in communication.
Wow. So your own brain is kind of amplifying the fear instead of soothing it. That sounds tough.
It is tough, but here's the really hopeful part, the revolutionary insight the sources touched on: neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, meaning the brain can change.
Exactly. Your brain isn't fixed. It can literally rewire itself. And this is huge for treatment. With things like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, you're not just coping, you're actively changing those brain pathways.
So you're retraining your brain's response.
Precisely. You're creating new, healthier circuits. It's like updating your brain software for a calmer response. And this can happen at any age.
That's incredibly hopeful. Okay, so we have genetics, brain wiring. What about upbringing? Does parenting play a role?
It definitely can. The sources link certain negative parenting styles, like being over-controlling, very critical, not showing much affection, or being overly anxious about what others think, to a higher risk of anxiety issues.
Makes sense.
Kids raised like that might become more fearful, maybe more suspicious, and struggle with self-esteem. And while social anxiety often gets diagnosed later, the symptoms frequently start showing up in late childhood or adolescence. That timing really highlights that early influence.
So early environment matters a lot. What about specific experiences, like trauma?
Absolutely. Traumatic events in childhood, things like abuse, neglect, severe bullying, major family conflict, losing a parent, these can definitely trigger or worsen social anxiety.
How so?
Well, they can powerfully reinforce this underlying belief that the world is dangerous or that people aren't trustworthy. And this often leads into developing negative beliefs about yourself and certain coping behaviors that aren't actually helpful long term.
Like what kind of beliefs?
Things like, I'm unlikable, people are definitely going to judge me, I'll say something stupid, or just feeling fundamentally unworthy.
That sounds exhausting.
It is, and it often leads to avoidance. Avoiding social situations becomes the main way to cope. It works in the short term. You don't feel the anxiety, but it really limits your life.
Right, you shrink your world.
Exactly. There's an interesting anecdote in the sources about one of Dr. Friedman Schaub's clients. This person used to mentally beat themselves up before their father physically did, as a way to feel some control.
Wow.
It kind of illustrates how someone with social anxiety might psychologically attack themselves first, maybe to preempt criticism from others, or just to feel like they've already hit bottom. It's a really deep-seated pattern.
That's a powerful example.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's the modern world. How does technology fit in? Less face-to-face time. Does that play a role?
It seems to. That's a really critical piece today. We communicate so much via text, social media, online. It allows connection without the same vulnerability as being face-to-face.
Yeah, you can edit your texts.
Exactly. And studies are showing a link. Younger people using online communication more heavily tend to report more fear of negative evaluation and social panic in real life. They might feel fine texting, but face-to-face. Much more anxiety.
Interesting. So it might make real-world interactions feel even harder?
Potentially, yeah. And finally, you have the immediate physical triggers, the specific situations that just set the anxiety off.
Like what? We mentioned some earlier.
Right. Things like leaving the house, meeting new people, big crowds, interviews, dating, public speaking. Those are common. But also more subtle things like getting a look from someone you interpret as judgmental, or just speaking on the phone, being watched doing something unfamiliar. Even being teased can trigger a severe reaction for some. The sheer variety just shows how much it can permeate daily life.
Okay, so it's clear this is complex. Roots in our biology, our brains, our past experiences, even our modern tech habits.
Yeah.
So given all that, what does this mean for actually getting better? What are the paths forward?
Well, the really good news, the overwhelming message from the sources is that social anxiety is highly treatable.
Okay, that's great to hear.
And connecting back to those causes, understanding your specific roots, whether it leans more neurological or experiential or behavioral, helps figure out the best approach. But the very first step, getting a proper diagnosis.
How does that work? Is there a test?
No medical test, unfortunately. It's more about a healthcare provider, assessing your symptoms and patterns. They look for that continuous fear, the anxiety or panic before social events, you realizing the fear is maybe unreasonable, but still feeling it, and importantly, how much it disrupts your day-to-day life.
And finding the right professional is key, you mentioned.
Absolutely crucial. You need someone who genuinely gets social anxiety, not someone who will just dismiss it or say, oh, just face your fears.
Right, that's not helpful.
Not at all. You need encouragement, someone open to questions. The sources even noted that a calm, peaceful treatment environment helps the brain absorb the changes better. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Less stress allows for more learning.
Yeah, totally. So what are the main treatment options? You mentioned therapy.
Yes, psychotherapy or talk therapy is incredibly effective. And the standout, really the gold standard according to the sources, is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
CBT, we hear that a lot. What does it actually involve?
Yeah.
How does it reprogram the brain?
So CBT focuses on right now, your current troubles. It teaches you new ways to think, act, and react in those situations that trigger anxiety. It helps you identify and then change those illogical thoughts and beliefs that fuel the fear.
Okay, so it's very practical.
Very practical. One core technique is identifying situations you tend to avoid. Then you create what's called a hierarchy of fear.
A hierarchy, like a list.
Exactly. You list feared social situations and rate how much anxiety you predict you'll feel, say 0 to 10, where 10 is full panic.
Okay.
Remember that example of the young man afraid of parties? He might rate thinking about it a 3, walking in a 6, talking to someone attractive maybe a 9.
Right.
Then comes the powerful part, testing those predictions. You write down what you think will happen, how high the anxiety will get, how long it'll last, the worst case scenario, and then you compare it to reality.
Checking the evidence.
Precisely. So that young man, his predicted level 9 anxiety dropped to a 3 once he actually started talking to the woman. He saw his catastrophic fortune-telling was wrong. That process helps correct those distorted thoughts over time.
That makes a lot of sense. You see, it's not as bad as you feared.
Exactly. And another key part of CBT is exposure therapy. This means gradually, step by step, facing those feared situations and staying in them.
Gradually being the key word there.
Definitely gradual. The goal is to learn through direct experience that the bad thing you fear doesn't actually happen, and that the anxiety does eventually decrease if you stick with it. It's incredibly empowering because you prove to yourself you can handle it.
I can see how that built confidence. What about group therapy?
Group therapy can be really helpful too. You get unbiased feedback, you learn from others going through similar things, but it's crucial that it's a supportive space. No pressure, no coercion, people work at their own pace.
Right, safety is key.
Yeah.
Now, beyond therapy, what about medication? Is that part of the picture?
It certainly can be. Medication is another option, and often, the sources suggest, it works best combined with therapy like CBT.
What kind of medications?
Antidepressants, particularly SSRIs like Paxil or Zoloft, are common. They can take a few weeks to start working, and they might have side effects, headaches, nausea, sleep issues, things like that.
Okay.
There are also beta blockers. These mainly help with the physical symptoms, the racing heart, the sweating, tremors. They're often used for specific situations, like performance anxiety.
Got it.
But the main takeaway is usually that medication can help manage the symptoms enough to allow someone to really engage with and benefit from the therapy. It's often a supportive tool.
That makes sense. Therapy addresses the roots. Medication helps manage the immediate feelings.
Exactly. And then there's all the stuff you can do yourself. Lifestyle changes. While maybe not a complete cure on their own, they can significantly reduce symptoms and are a vital first step for many.
Like what kind of things?
Well, mentally, it's about actively understanding your anxiety, challenging and replacing those unrealistic beliefs we talked about, trying not to constantly overthink what others might be thinking, shifting focus outwards sometimes, paying attention to others instead of just your own internal state.
Okay, mental shifts. What about physical?
Big impact there. Regular physical activity, running, hiking, cycling, anything aerobic, really. It releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals.
Right.
It helps with mental processing, emotional well-being, just overall health.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole mind-body connection piece.
Meditation. Yoga.
Yes, things like meditation, relaxation techniques, yoga, tai chi, they're incredibly powerful for calming the nervous system, reducing stress hormones like adrenaline, even helping with blood pressure. The sources highlighted something amazing. 20 minutes of deep meditation can provide rest equivalent to several hours of sleep.
Wow, really?
Yeah, whether it's focusing on your breath, mindfulness, guided imagery, the key is finding a technique that helps you access that calm state. Deep breathing alone is a quick stress deflator.
Good reminder. Simple but effective. What else falls under self-help?
Lots of things, really. Holistic wellness. Reading can be a great escape and stimulate your brain. Practicing positive thinking, it sounds simple, but it can genuinely shift your outlook and outcomes.
Okay.
Good time management helps reduce stress from deadlines. Prioritizing sleep is huge. Aiming for that 8 hours, having a routine.
Sleep is fundamental.
Absolutely. Listening to soothing music can change your mood quickly. Talking things out with trusted friends or family, that's therapeutic in itself. Laughter, it literally brings more oxygen in, relaxes muscles, boosts immunity.
Can't argue with laughter.
Nope. Healthy eating, obviously. Avoiding junk, too much caffeine or sugar. Giving your body the fuel it needs to cope with stress. And finding a good work-life balance, crucial for preventing burnout. Even writing things down can help clarify thoughts and process emotions.
It's really a whole toolkit of wellness strategies.
It really is. Building that foundation makes dealing with the anxiety itself much more manageable.
Okay, now let's talk about something important. Progress isn't always a straight line, right? What happens if anxiety flares up again? What about relapses?
That's a really important question. And yeah, it's crucial to understand that setbacks or relapses are completely normal. They're not unusual at all, especially during stressful times or periods of change.
So it doesn't mean the treatment failed.
Not at all. The key is learning to recognize your personal red flags, those signs that anxiety might be creeping back up. Maybe you notice more panic feelings, more anxious thoughts. Maybe you're getting into more arguments or starting to avoid things again. Or maybe there's just a big life change happening.
Awareness is the first step.
Exactly. And once you recognize those flags, have a plan. What works for you? Maybe it's consciously practicing your CBT skills more often, maybe taking some quiet time, doing relaxation exercises.
Okay, having a go-to strategy.
Right. And also, try to learn from the relapse. Ask yourself, okay, why now? Were there specific upsetting thoughts? Was general anxiety high? Did the situation catch you off guard? Analyzing it helps you prepare better for next time.
Makes sense. Turning it into a learning experience.
Precisely. And here's a really vital point. You can't truly go back to square one. You still have the skills you learned maybe from CBT or just your own coping strategies. Recovery from a relapse will almost certainly be faster than when you first started treatment. You know more now.
That's reassuring. You don't lose the progress.
You don't. And perhaps most importantly, self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up over a relapse. Be patient with yourself. Remember to acknowledge and celebrate every bit of improvement you've made. Managing anxiety is hard work. Honoring your effort is key.
That's a wonderful point. Be kind to yourself through the process.
Absolutely.
Well, this deep dive has really illuminated so much. Social anxiety, it's clearly challenging, intensely so, but it's not insurmountable. There are these clear pathways from really understanding where it comes from, genetics, brain chemistry, our experiences, to using powerful tools like CBT and even simple everyday lifestyle changes. It feels like there's a lot of agency there.
There really is. And as you said, knowledge is powerful, but it's most valuable when it's understood and actually applied. What strikes me as truly fascinating here is that core idea we touched on, how your own thoughts and actions can literally reshape your brain.
That neuroplasticity.
Exactly. And that leads to a final thought, maybe something provocative for you to consider. If your thinking truly shapes who you become, how can you proactively cultivate a clearer mind to attract the life you actually desire?
Interesting question.
Think about it. Clearing out the mental clutter, maybe it's dwelling on past mistakes, trying to multitask constantly, or just consuming overwhelming amounts of information. That clearing process seemed like a fundamental step towards clearer thinking and real transformation.
Decluttering the mind.
Yeah. By focusing on what's genuinely important, by nurturing more positive, constructive thoughts, you might just activate the latent power of your subconscious, moving towards attracting the life you want rather than always feeling like you're chasing it. So the question to leave you with is, what's one small step you could take, maybe even today, to start decluttering your mind and applying some of what we've talked about?